Like Ronald Reagan, it's morning America.
November 4th, 1980, the Republican Ronald Reagan and Democrat Jimmy Carter battle it out in the election.
Governor, as you're well aware, the question of war and peace has emerged as a central issue in this campaign, and the give and take of recent weeks. President Carter's been criticized for responding late to aggressive Soviet impulses, for insufficient buildup of our armed forces, and a paralysis in dealing with Afghanistan and Iran. You have been criticized for being all too quick to advocate the use of lots of muscle, military action, to deal with foreign crises. Specifically, what are the differences between the two of you on the uses of American military power?
I don't know what the differences might be because I don't know what Mr. Carter's policies are. I do know what he has said about mine. And I'm only here to tell you that I believe with all my heart that our first priority must be world peace, and that use of force is always and only a last resort when everything else has failed, and then only with regard to our national security. Now, I believe also that meeting this mission, this responsibility for preserving the peace, which I believe is a responsibility peculiar to our country, that we cannot shirk our responsibility as the leader of the free world because we're the only one that can do it. And therefore the burden of maintaining the peace falls on us. And to maintain that peace requires strength.
Why people should not vote for your opponent, why his presidency could be harmful to the nation, and having examined both your opponent's record and the man himself, could you tell us his greatest weakness?
Well, Barbara, I believe that there is a fundamental difference, and I think it has been evident in most of the answers that Mr. Carter has given tonight, that he seeks the solution to anything as another opportunity for a federal government program. I happen to believe that the federal government has usurped powers and autonomy and authority that belongs back at the state and local level. It has imposed on the individual freedoms of the people, and that there are more of these things that could be solved by the people themselves if they were given a chance, or by the levels of government that were closer to them.
With Ronald Reagan's platform against local affairs and his plea for a free market capitalism, it has definitely made him someone to be taken seriously in this upcoming election.
Seems to me that Carter's administration, people thought his inability to control the increase in inflation was his downfall in the election.
Reagan was inaugurated on January 20th, 1981 in Washington with goals in hand. These goals were to shrink the federal budget, reduce the government size, and also cut taxes.
Along with that inauguration, the Iranians released the hostages after 444 days of captivity. Looks like Reagan's inauguration sparked a little kindness in Iran.
Speaking of Reagan, on March of 1981, he was shot in the left arm, collapsing his left lung. What a trooper. Later that month, Reagan came back to office, fully recovered, to tackle America's problems.
In August 1981, Congress approved plans to lower tax rates, federal estate taxes, and it created new tax-free savings plans for small investors.
Reagan's economic plan, or Reaganomics, or the supply side, boosted economic activity, aided economic growth, stimulated new investors, as well as increased productivity.
When 1982 rolled around, the unemployment rate was up to 11%, as well as bank failures, business folding, even the automobile businesses failed to grow due to imports from other countries.
In June of 1982, the Israelites, or people who live in Israel, decided to invade Lebanon. As of March 1983, Ronald Reagan tried to enact the New Missile Defense System, also known as SDI, or Strategic Defense Initiative, commonly known as Star Wars.
These were satellites in space that fired laser beams to vaporize a missile on liftoff.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Return to a galaxy far, far away.
Ready, everybody? Chewie, let's see what this piece of junk can do.
Here we Go again. You will bring Captain Solo and the Wookiee to me.
Return to heroic adventure.
Don't know the power of the dark side.
Return to the ultimate confrontation.
Breathe! Don't move!
Dear.
I love you.
I know.
Return for the climactic chapter of the Star Wars saga.
Exciting is hardly the word I would choose.
But most of all, return for the fun of it. Return of the Jedi.
The question on everybody's mind regarding the Star Wars project is how much is it going to cost, and will it be truly necessary in the upcoming years? Tragedy befalls Israel. Palestinian terrorists invade Israel. Many are killed.
On October 23rd, 1983, suicide bomber crashed explosive truck into U.S. Marine barracks in Lebanon that killed 200 Marines. The Teflon president withdrew the rest of his peacekeeping troops.
It's October 1983. Ronald Reagan, using the awesome military power, invades Grenada. Unfortunately, the coup killed the prime minister and left Marxists in power.
In the election of 1984, Ronald Reagan won again for his second term of presidency against Democrat Walter Mondale with a first ever woman VP, Geraldine Ferraro.
We currently have an interview with her. She's very lovely, except not really.
Today I will be interviewing Geraldine Ferraro, who is Walter Mondale's running mate. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York.
And what kind of cases did you face as an attorney?
Sex crimes, child abuse, and domestic violence cases.
Did those really give you the idea that you wanted to help change the world?
Yeah, it really did. Seeing all the crime that was in the world really made me want to make a difference.
Now, what made you switch to politics?
Walter asked me to be his running mate.
And what does it feel like to be the first woman running for VP?
I feel like I can actually make a difference. I feel like women are actually getting their time in history.
That's good.
On September 1st, 1983, the Soviets shot down a Korean passenger airliner as it flew into the Soviet airspace. Now that sounds like a repeat of what happened to one of our airplanes. Hopefully this event doesn't result in a war.
By the end of 1983, all the arms control negotiations broke and the Cold War intensified. Hopefully this doesn't lead to an all-out nuclear war, which would be a result of this catastrophic event. During March 1985, Soviet Communist Party Chairman Mikhail Gorbachev came up with two new policies, Glasnost and Perestroika. These were for free speech and was a measure of liberty, also reviving the Soviet economy. These measures reduced the military size and concentrated aid on the citizens.
April 1985 led to the Soviets ceasing to deploy nuclear forces of the INF that were targeted on Western Europe. The Soviets were waiting for an agreement on their elimination. During the year of 1985, American diplomats secretly arranged an arms sale to the Iranians in return for the release of American hostages held by Middle Eastern terrorists. Thankfully, the hostages were returned later that year.
In November 1986, news of secret dealings broke out and ignited controversies. However, Reagan claimed he wasn't a part of it. The money the U.S. received for selling arms to the Iranians was secretly given to the Contras. We'll be right back.
What a spooky hotel.
Homey, isn't it?
It's blueberry
With my hauntingly delicious cereal.
Wow, blueberry flavor.
With tasty marshmallows.
It hasn't the ghost of a chance when Count Choculate's here.
Oh boy, a chocolatey flavored cereal.
With tasty marshmallows.
Blueberry.
Count Chocolate. I picture a delicious breakfast. You too can enjoy a good, nutritious breakfast with
Blueberry. Count Chocolate.
Welcome welcome to Walnut Creek 7 o'clock news.
In December 1985, the third summit at Washington, D.C. was held. Reagan and Gorbachev signed an INF treaty that banned nuclear missiles targeted in Western Europe.
During 1986, Reagan ordered an air raid against Libya in retaliation for the sponsorship of terrorist attacks, such as a bomb attack in West Berlin. This bombing killed a few American servicemen.
In May 1988, Reagan and Gorbachev spent the final summit in Moscow.
By 1990, the median household income declined, showing the effects of the recession.